Good afternoon. It's great to be back at ONUG. I kind of feel like I grew up here. I was at the first ONUG in Boston, and I missed the past couple, but it's great to be back. So we're going to talk you through Swisslog's deployment with Open Systems today, but I just want to take 1 second to give you a brief overview on who Open Systems is and what we do. So Open Systems is a next-generation network as a service provider. It's kind of a vague statement. What does that mean? What it means is we are a vertically integrated network as a service provider. So we have built, deployed, and managed for customers a full network as a service stack, network and security as a service stack. Differentiates us a little bit from a lot of the other network as a service providers in that we've built the intellectual property underlying the service. So the support level that you get with that service is very, very compelling. And that's actually what we're here to talk about today. So with that, I'll introduce Jim Collier, Director of Network Infrastructure and Architecture for Swisslog, and we'll talk you through the Swisslog deployment.
Thanks, Matt. Just a little bit about Swisslog. Swisslog is in the logistics automation as well as the logistics material transport business. We really have two business units on the healthcare side. We transport pharmaceuticals, lab specimens inside of hospitals. So if you go to any hospital nearly in the US, you would see one of our systems. You might look now that you know we're there, but I'm sure some of you have seen them. You would use it at a drive-up bank to move your money. We do that in hospitals. We also do packaging and dispensing of medications in large hospitals. So we take bulk medication, we package, we dispense, we make sure that gets to the floor in various ways through our mobile robot. And then we have a larger, I would say more back office facing business where we build and automate warehouses for large retailers. And that's really a much bigger part and more complex part of the business than the healthcare side, but the healthcare side, at least for me personally, is more exciting. Just because, you know, there's people's lives at stake, so it's a little bit more interesting. So that's a little bit about what Swisslog does. Just for a little bit of background, we're about 4,000 people globally. I don't even know today, 30 offices in 17 countries.
And Jim, how big is your staff?
My staff is tiny. So globally right now, I have roughly 12 people on the infrastructure and network team globally throughout the world. Specifically, more to your question, Matt, we have 3 people on our network team.
Wow.
Not including me. So
cool.
It's quite small.
Yeah, very, very small. So you've been an Open Systems customer longer than I've been an Open Systems employee, but what problem were you trying to solve when you found Open Systems?
The problem for us is we're small, as I had just stated, right? I don't have a large amount of staff. We can't be experts in everything. It's just not practical for us to say we're going to be experts in cloud and we're going to be experts in WAN and we're going to be experts in LAN and infrastructure. So we had to decide at the end what's most important. What do we outsource? Where do we find a partner who we can really partner with and trust to take care of us? And so our problem was that we had a lot of different vendors. We had some in the US, we had some in Europe, we had some in APAC, and all of those vendors were doing things a little bit differently. Some were reactive, some were not so reactive, and we really needed to build a global network with one pane of glass where we could see what was happening across our entire network, as well as do that with a limited amount of staff. Now, one thing, Matt, is at that point we had a bigger staff because we were managing the network ourselves, or at least trying to manage our network ourselves with various partners throughout the world, and that just was not working for us.
Okay. So how did you go about finding a partner to solve those challenges?
Yeah, so I think that's the key there. We're looking for a partner. What we had before was a supplier. You know, there's 3 areas that we were really focused on. And let me preface this by saying that finance was focused on spending the least amount of money, as everybody knows that problem. My team was focused on not outsourcing anything because they lose control. and I was focusing in on doing the right thing for the business, because at the time, and we've been with Open Systems 10 plus years now, I'm not even really sure anymore how long it's been. But my problem is I couldn't get staff up in the middle of the night. I couldn't get people that wanted to work 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. We couldn't stay current on the technology. Being in the healthcare space, now security is becoming more and more important, so to try to keep everybody educated, all of that was just compounding, and I said, at the end, we can't really do this internally. We just don't have a big enough staff, and I don't want to be an expert in networking. So we were trying to find a partner who would really understand our business, be there for us, implementation, post-support, whatever we plan to do in the future. And that, at least at that point, this is kind of before SD-WAN, the term SD-WAN really existed, but I wanted a global network ran over the internet, and that's what we were looking for, and there was kind of very few partners to do that. But yeah, I think that's, we're just trying to bring that whole network together in one pane of glass and something that was very, very simple to manage. And I don't like getting up at 2 a.m. more than anybody else in this room does, and that's really what we were looking for in the end, is somebody takes care of it. We don't have to worry. I lose sleep over a lot of stuff, but today the WAN is not one of them things. Okay,
so you touched on it a little bit, but what have the results been? What have you seen from the partnership and the deployment?
Well, let me just step back a minute, Matt, and talk about one maybe topic that we missed there is we decided to go through an RFP process to find a new vendor. And what we discovered through that process is we found a lot of great technology. That was all fine. A lot of people have a lot of great technology, but what I was really looking for is somebody who I could trust to be there and take care of us. And we could have picked a lot of providers that would have provided us great technology, but I needed to know that somebody was going to listen to us, understand what we needed, not tell us what we needed, but understand the business and develop a solution together. And that's what we really couldn't find, so we decided to scrap the whole RFP process because that really wasn't working for us. We decided to go out on our own and start doing our own research, find customers that were customers of various vendors and talk to them, how's it going? And that's really tough because sometimes customers don't want to talk to you. So if you're a customer of company XYZ, we just could not get those people to talk to us. But over time, we were able to get through that, and we ended up with 3 or 4 finalists there, Open Systems being one of them. And so we took a little bit different approach because, as I said, it wasn't really in the end about the technology, because there's lots of great technology. It was about having the partner and the reliability in the system that we really needed being in the space that we're in. And especially today, 80% of our infrastructure is out there someplace, whether it's in Azure or AWS or a SaaS provider. If the network's not running, nothing's running, right? The days are gone where the Exchange server is sitting on-prem, right? If the network's down, the whole business has stopped running. So it's even more critical today that we have something that's very, very, very reliable 24/7, because we have customers have a 15-minute SLA. If we can't respond to them in 15 minutes, we start getting penalized for that. So if the network's not running, service technicians are not logging in and taking care of the things that need to be taken care of. So I wanted to preference that, but I forgot what the question was.
Thank you. I think I skipped ahead. So. The question was, how has the partnership been? What have you seen from the partnership?
So the partnership has been probably the best partnership we have in terms of a vendor. And let's say that no relationship is perfect. There's been issues, but there's been no issues that we weren't able to work through in the end. And I think that's key, and I think part of that is the dedication by Open Systems and the dedication by my team to have some give and take. We're not the experts, so we listen to them. They don't know our business, and they listen to us. And so that's been a great relationship. And I can't say enough. I think the one thing that really keeps us coming back to Open Systems is the support. As I said, we were looking for a partner, and I'll mention this, and Matt can say, hey, stop, but we just signed a new contract with Open Systems earlier this year, and I hadn't read through the contract in a while, and there was an 8-minute SLA for response time. And I said, there must be a mistake. Can't be 8 minutes. Nope, that's correct. We'll respond within 8 minutes. And so earlier, when I was sitting out here in the audience, I had pinged one of our network engineers. I said, over the last 10 years, what's the response time when you call into the support desk? Typically, they answer in 20 seconds. And that's really the truth. They do answer in 20 seconds. And we call it level X support because you don't get somebody answering the phone saying, how can I help you? Let me find you a technician. You get a level X engineer. They solve 1, 2, and 3 right there. So, so if we need something fixed, I mean, our average, I think, resolution to any problem is today about 20 minutes, which in the industry is quite good. And I think that's hard to do without the level of automation that Open Systems has built into their system, because they push a firewall rule, it pushes out to our 100 open system gateways worldwide. So that level of automation allows them to be very, very proactive and solve tickets in a very quick manner.
Yeah, you called out the 8-minute SLA to me the first time we met. I was only about a month into the company, and I thought, oh, that can't be right. But it was. It's accurate.
Yeah, so Open Systems opened up a new office in California recently, and myself and one of our network engineers were there, and we decided to just let's call in to see what happens. So we called in, and even in the midst of the chaos, you know, within 15 seconds, somebody was answering the phone, taking our call, and of course, we ordered a beer. So, you know, just to test the response time. But for us being a small business, we're only 4,000 people. I got 3 people on my network team. They're handling mostly LAN infrastructure. We don't worry about the WAN side because it's monitored, secure. We can look in the Open Systems portal and see network traffic, latency across our entire network. We can even give it to our support desk because I know you've never heard this, but it's always a network problem. So the help desk guy calls, we got a network problem. You sure? So we give them the portal and say, take a look before you call and say there's a network problem. So yeah, I think the support and the stability of the system, and I can't even tell you the last time we had an outage related to the technology. We've caused some problems ourselves, but that's no one to blame but ourselves.
Okay. So we definitely talked through what the solution looks like. What kind of benefits have you seen since the deployment?
I think the biggest benefit for us is we don't have to worry about that constant need for a network engineer that's going to pack up his bags and say, I don't want to do this anymore, and then I have to try to hire somebody who I know I can't hire because I can't pay enough, or I can't find the right skilled people, or I can't train them enough. So that was a constant problem for us, just network engineers coming and going because you're not big enough. I don't have to worry about that anymore. I have 3 dedicated folks, one here in the US, one in Singapore, one in the UK, and since they're fully happy with the partnership with Open Systems, they worry about the LAN, and they open up tickets as needed to take care of the WAN side. So we saw a reduction in staff, so I went from 6 people to 3. Even though when I had 6 people, we weren't managing the WAN in any good way. I think we've seen a reduction in cost, although finance would always argue that because it's never cheap enough. And you see that reduction in cost, and I think primarily through the reduction in headcount, but also downtime, right? Because the business never really thinks about downtime until something's broken. But there really is a cost of doing business when something is broken and you can't get it fixed. And especially today, if the business can't access SAP and take sales orders and all of that stuff's in the cloud, you know, that reliability and knowing that it's either always working or when it's not working, we get somebody on the phone and get it resolved near immediately. So yeah, I think that's covers it.
Awesome. And so just what's next for Swisslog? Where do you see the technology environment evolving to?
Yeah, as I said, we were kind of using SD-WAN before the term SD-WAN was really a term, and I was telling Matt earlier in the back of the room that the SD-WAN thing may be overused at this point. But there's a lot of discussion around networking, and I think the network part is the most critical in our organization. The one thing that we have not done that we're right in the process of doing is we have a separate network for our connection to Azure AWS. So right now we're implementing the open systems virtual gateways in Azure. So we take away that kind of separate layer of security that we have put in place and those pieces of hardware, and then we bring that network all together in basically one cohesive network again. So we're not managing firewall rules separate for Azure, for example, as opposed to the rest of our network. It becomes one cohesive solution. The other thing that we're doing right now is dynamic traffic routing. So, and this is a real world example, we decided to implement a change to change how Windows was updating, and that brought some of our sites down to basically no bandwidth. But we got on the phone with Open Systems, classified that traffic, and within 4 or 5 hours, everything was back to normal because it was taking that update traffic, picking up these patches, and giving it maybe 10% of the bandwidth as opposed to 90%. So, so it's those things that really, the technology that's coming out is really, really helping us. We've also are in the process, or just about finished with the NG firewall implementation as well, which has also helped us in terms of understanding the firewall chaining rules and much better understand how this thing kind of fits together end to end from a security perspective.
Cool. Very good. Well, thank you very much, Jim. Anything else that you want to add? Well, no?
Nothing from my side.
All right. Very good. I guess we can take a minute and ask if there's any questions in the audience. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.